This week's guest is Chris Brauner, a jack of all trades for amateurgolf.com. Next week, I will be heading to Trinity, Texas to cover the Spirit, an event that is considered the Olympics of amateur golf. Chris has been to the host course, Whispering Pines, and spent some time there for Media Day. I pick his brain about the event's history and mission, the stellar field, and the golf course. Chris is very knowledgeable. I'm looking forward to going down to Texas. I hope you enjoy our discussion. Thanks, as always, for listening. Let's get to my talk with Chris. First off, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Sean. Nice meeting you this way.
Yeah, this is great. And so we are colleagues at amateurgolf.com. I just kind of came on board, and you have been with Amateur Golf for a while, for a long time.
Quite a while, yes, since 2005, off and on.
Awesome. So you kind of know a little bit about the Spirit. So I would love to just pick your brain a little bit before I go down there, hear a little bit about the course, the event. I've been doing some research and doing some writing on it. But first and foremost, it is a team amateur event, and it's very different from some of the other team amateur events that exist, the Curtis Cup, the Walker Cup, even college golf. So what has been your experience with the Spirit and the event in general?
Well, the Spirit has kind of flown under my radar. It's since I've been a lifelong Texan, and I've probably learned more about the event in the last half year than in the previous 20 years that it's been in existence. And when you go there, you mentioned it was in Houston. That's being very generous to Houston. This place, you're going to fly into Houston, and then you're going to get into some sort of transport, and then you're just going to get deeper and deeper and deeper into the sticks, and you're going to swear you're lost before you get there. Like I said, I've lived in Texas all my life. I won't tell you how many years that is. It's too many, but I never knew where the course was. It's the number one course in Texas, and I wouldn't be able to tell you where it was until I went there a couple months ago.
Yeah. So the course is Whispering Pines.
Whispering Pines Golf Club. Yeah, it's a Jack Nicklaus design. A guy named Chet Williams designed it. There's a long story about how, and I'm sure we'll get into it, about how the course was conceived and created and so forth. But it's out there, and the tournament itself is, like you mentioned, it's team golf. It's basically the Olympics of amateur golf, and that's how the founder, Whispering Pines founder Corby Robertson, kind of conceived the tournament 20 years ago. Back in that time, golf wasn't an Olympic sport yet, and he felt that that's what golf was missing, and so he kind of created this tournament. And when you go there, you're gonna see that Olympic touch throughout. I mean, they have opening, closing ceremonies. I think they even had a cauldron. They've got an Olympic village called Camp Olympia, where the players stay. They have gold, silver, and bronze medals that they hand out, and it is the Olympics of amateur golf. And like I said, I think it's kind of flown under the radar just because it is in such a remote location, and and they do have a lot of other team events out there, like you mentioned. But it's a one-of-a-kind golf event, and I think you're going to really enjoy it.
Yeah. So the things that stand out to me that make it one of a kind are, it as I was reading about it, it felt a lot of people talk about Olympic sports and the opportunity for different athletes to win multiple medals. Swimming, track and field. Golf does not provide that opportunity in the actual Olympics right now. You play, and it's an individual sport. Basketball, you get one medal. But at the Spirit, there are teams of 4 from each country, 2 men and 2 women. And there are actually 5 events going on at one time. So they're playing their golf ball the whole way around for 3 rounds. So 54 holes. And then they tally up the scores. And so the five events are, there's a full team best ball, which I think they take the best 3 scores from every day. Is that? I think that's
correct.
what I read.
they kind of changed the format this year to it's kind of a mini college where it's best 3 of 4 scores each day is your team
Yeah.
score.
Yeah. So that's a team. So they have a kind of a team event. So the 4 Americans are kind of all playing together in that format. And then there's a men's team. So it's 2-man best ball and it's a 2 female best ball. And then the last 2 events are a men's individual and a women's individual. So those are the 5 events. So every player has an opportunity to possibly win 3 medals. They could win
That's
a
correct.
team.
In fact, in the first Spirit back in 2001, Lorena Ochoa of Mexico, she won 3 medals. She was the first one to do that. They just changed the format this year, and I don't know if you've heard about this, but the individual competition in previous years, it was basically like a really aggressive shootout kind of format where they basically just tallied up all your birdies and eagles, and whoever had the most was the winner. Now they've changed that this year, like you said, to play your own ball, 18-hole score each day, and they wanted to do that because they wanted to offer more world ranking points for this tournament. This tournament's always drawn a pretty strong field, because each country, is encouraged to send their top 2 women, top 2 men. But until this year, they really weren't awarding as many, world amateur golf ranking points as they could have, and so they wanted to leverage the strength of their field and strengthen the event in that way.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was kind of going back through the archives of the past years, 2001 being the first year that they did this, and I clicked on the individual scores, and it just gave me a birdie count, and then I read an article that kind of Corby Robertson, who's the founder of the event and the golf course and everything, he said he likes the idea of 2 teams, but at the same time they're firing at flags trying to make birdie, both as best ball teammates, as and then also individually. So I thought that was kind of an interesting way to help players just lower their scores or or heighten their scores, whatever kind of week they're having.
I think they were trying to maximize the air quotes fun factor. And it's a fun event throughout. It's going to be an interesting tension this year, though, because each player is going to concurrently be in an individual stroke play event and a best ball event.
Yeah.
So how aggressive do you get? But these most of these players are used to that. They're most of them are college players, and in every college tournament, there's always kind of a tug of war when someone's leading individually, but they need to take risks for the team in order for the team to win. So they'll be quite used to it. It'll be a very interesting dynamic, I think.
So I'm curious. One thing I don't know is how do they organize the tee times? That's something I just thought of. Do they have 2 and 2 go out, so you're playing with someone from a different nation, but you're also playing with a teammate, or do the 4 go out together, or do you have no idea?
I don't think that
Yeah.
the 4 go out together. I think it's the terrible pun, but the spirit of the event is that these players intermingle with people from other countries.
Right.
They do it all week. They do it on the golf course. They do it off the golf course. They have events every night, and so they do mix the players. It's I know a lot of college events have gone to during COVID have gone to all the players on one team playing one group, but this will not be one of those events.
Yeah. So that's the other kind of neat thing about this event. You just said it. I think golfers show up on Monday. They play some practice rounds. The event starts officially on Thursday, and so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday they are kind of brought through an opening ceremony, like you said. There's a little fun competition at the Needle, which is the par 3 course on the property as well. All the contestants, all the competitors are staying in the same kind of campground, which is just off the Whispering Pines property, but also owned by the same kind of ownership group. So that entire it's really is a 6-day kind of event. There's dinner every night, so it is really it just is a really neat kind of way to organize a bunch of amateurs from all over the world. I think there's 20 countries um, who are represented this year. Is this something you could see or wish the Olympics would be? Could you
I
see
was
it
thinking
working?
about that. One of the things about the Olympics is that everyone seems to be wanting to move away from the sort of the traditional 72 hole stroke play format, and there's currently no team element right now. I think it would be great, but I don't know, if you're from a very strong golf nation, um, limiting yourself at the professional level, limiting yourself to just the top two players of each gender in your nation, that'd be awfully tough. Now they're already limiting them to four. But they had there was a tournament called it's still in existence, although COVID's kind of slowed it down. The World Cup of Golf.
Yep.
Um, you know, Tiger and David Duval won that. Fred Couples, Davis Love won that many times. Um, that used to be a very popular team event where you only took two players from your country. So, but I think the Olympics, the real Olympics, really does need a some sort of team element in golf, and you never know. Maybe it could be this format.
Yeah, and
It's a tough question.
yeah, I think it would be kind of a neat way to organize it. I think the other thing that makes this event stand out is just how good the field is, and that's not just you mentioned Lorena Ochoa winning in 2001. I think I read that there has been a winner on every major worldwide tour who has participated in the Spirit at some point in the last 20 years. So it's a really great representation. Major winners, Spieth, Willett, Ochoa, you mentioned, um, and then other players that's kind of stood out to me as I was looking. Scotty Scheffler, who just played in the Ryder Cup, Will Zalatoris, who was competing at the Masters as well, Maria Fassi, um,
Hmm.
so who was kind of all over social media this week in playing in Dubai and hitting golf shots into the night sky. I don't know if you saw any of that, but so the field is really, really good, and this year is kind of no different. There's a handful of very, very talented. They're all very talented, and then there's players at the very top of world rankings as well. So I think that's the other thing that makes this event stand out.
It's got a great list of alumni, and I'll tell you what blew me away was, the Olympics were earlier this summer, and I was told that only one third of the actual golf Olympians this year had played in the Spirit, and so that right there just shows you the reach of the Spirit and how it prepares these great players to represent their country on the biggest stage. And I think there were 39 players in the Olympic Games this year who were Spirit alumni.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So this year, the U.S. team especially has Rachel Heck, Rose Zhang, Sam Bennett, and David Payot as kind of their four who are all
Yeah,
outstanding players in
James
their own
Pyatt,
right. James Payot. Sorry.
yeah,
Yep.
U.S. amateur champion.
Yep. So really, really good. And then from Spain, that's David Puig. Is kind of
Correct,
the
Arizona
other.
State player. He's
Yeah.
the top rank. He's a top rank male player in the field. It's amazing for the U.S. to have the number one and number two women in the world on the team. Of course, they're on the same team at Stanford, and
Yeah.
um, it's an amazing dynamic between the two because Rachel Heck. I don't know if you remember this, but earlier this year she won the Pac-12,
Yeah.
her NCAA regional, and then the NCAA national championship, only to see Rose Zhang join her team, and now Rose has won the first three tournaments they played in.
Yeah.
So
And Curtis Cup teammates.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yep, winning Curtis Cup teammates.
It's really, really neat. I'm if I get a chance to talk to them, I'd be very interested to hear kind of their take on the Curtis Cup and then this, and kind of playing for their country. They're not going to Hawaii for the Pac-12 show. I think there's a Pac-12 showcase going on this week, and Stanford's going to be there, and they're playing in this. So kind of goes to show they want to play for their country and represent their country, which I think is also pretty neat.
And they'll be doing it many, many times in the future, I'm sure.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Let's talk about Whispering Pines as a place. You mentioned a little bit about it. It is the course itself is 21 years old, but the story about the course and how it came to be is longer than that. The property was bought in the late 60s, I believe, by Corby Robertson, and kind of lived as a summer camp. So that was really the focus of the land and the property, was as a summer camp for teens to come and kind of focus on mind, body, and spirit. And like you said, it's very far. It's kind of remote, so a nice place for kids to spend some time and just kind of and reconnect with themselves and with nature and all that good summer camp stuff, which I like.
Or if you're my parents, to dump their kids off for a while and get rid of them.
Right. So you've been there and you've played the golf course. So what's the golf course like? What's the energy there like? And then we can kind of maybe talk about how we got to it being a golf course.
Well, because it's so remote, there are very few places in the world you can go to anymore, it seems like, where you can just stop what you're doing and you don't hear anything. I mean, it's just very, very quiet out there. And it's obviously very scenic. It's right on the shores of Lake Livingston, although you don't actually see the lake until late in the round. It was basically just forest. And so they carved holes out of the forest. And, as the round kind of starts inland and it kind of runs over all sorts of sandy waste areas and through the trees. There's even a blind shot on the par 5 second. It's very rare for there to be any blind shots in normally dead flat East Texas, but you do get some elevation change. And then as the round progresses, you get closer and closer to the lake until from 13 to 18. You're dealing with the lake pretty much the rest of the round, and it's no surprise that those are going to be the 6 holes that the TV coverage is mostly focused on. It's an interesting layout because they basically had a blank canvas to work on, which can be a problem sometimes because sometimes architects try to do too much. But this is a really nice balanced test at golf, and everyone at the Spirit, Sam Bennett, when he was there at Media Day, he's going to be one of the U.S. team members. Everyone there describes Whispering Pines as sort of a second shot golf course. And what do they mean by that? What they mean is that you can't just blindly bomb away, hit it down there as far as you can, and hope to have a good angle into the green. A lot of these greens are very undulating. They have different sections. They have drop offs everywhere. They just did a renovation that resurfaced the whole golf course in Zorza grass, which kind of promotes the running of the ball around and away from the greens. And so you really have to place your tee shots properly and then really control your trajectory and spin. And this is one of the questions that I was asking Charlie Epps, the Spirit president, Mark Steinbauer, the vice president. How, it's a real trick to set up a single golf course to test the best men players in the world, the best women players in the world, because their games are so different. Augusta National does this pretty well, obviously. You see that during the Masters for the men and during the Augusta National Women's Amateur, the same course is able to provide a good test for both.
Yeah.
And this course does that by being, a second shot course, and where precision is more important than just raw power. Power always helps on any golf course, but here it's mitigated just a little bit.
Yeah. Are there any holes that you would recommend someone to go, or spots there to go and watch, either for birdies or for that kind of knife's edge, maybe a little bit of carnage?
recommend for someone like you who's going there for the first time.
Yeah.
Once you get on the property, you need to make a beeline out to the back of 14 green.
Okay.
Um, like I mentioned before, the golf course starts touching the lake and Caney Creek, which kind of runs into the lake on 13, and then you get to 14, and this hole kind of comes at a pivotal point in the round, and no matter where you are in your round, you've got to make a really tough decision because if you can imagine, um, it's a short drivable par four. It's basically a giant boomerang from right to left, and there's sort of a marshy wetland uh, between the tee and the green. And so you really have to make a choice. From if you go to Google Earth and you measure the distance from the far back tee to the middle of the green is 307, which a lot of the men can cover. I think it's a 270 carry and then 307 to the green. But if you don't make it, you're re-teeing.
Yeah.
However, if you know the farther right you go to be safe, now you're hitting more and more across the fairway where you have very little room to land your ball. So you got to really be precise there. So you're just going to have to decide. These players are just going to have to decide how good they're feeling. And the other benefit of sitting on the back of 14 is that you're going to be able to turn around and watch them play 15. 15 is one of the most unique holes that I've seen. They basically took, I don't know how they got permission to do this, but they basically took a sandbar that was in the middle of the creek / lake, and they were able to build it up into a golf hole. And when you play this hole, and when you look at the hole, you're gonna look at it, you're gonna wonder, you're gonna swear it's an island that's inaccessible except for maybe by boat. You're gonna have no idea how people can get to this island. There's actually a very hidden camouflage entrance to the from the rear of the green. But it's just a short iron. I don't think they're going to be hitting anything more than a 9 or an 8, maybe. But it can be approached from all different angles, and it's an engineering I'm sure it floods whenever they get tons and tons of rain there, although they've built it up a little bit. But I think you're gonna, and viewers watching it on TV or the live stream, they're going to want to tune in just for these 2 holes as well. Although the last few holes after that are also very strong.
Yeah. Well, that's a kind of a nice segue into how the course was built and, and the how the property grew from just being a camp to being a golf course. So you can maybe correct me. But as far as I know, so Robertson had this summer camp. There were some issues with some of the trees because there was a kind of a beetle infestation. So they had to cut down some trees, and that led to the campers playing a game called Alf, which Robertson described as golf without the greens. So it was kind of like just a localized spot where players were hitting to one place. There was a kind of a wash tub in the middle, and the goal was just to get it in that wash tub. And Robertson over time kind of realized this space could be a golf course, started staking off his own holes in the 90s, and then from there realized he wanted someone to build an outstanding golf course and hired Chet from Nicholas Design to build it. And it was done in 2000, and in 2001 the Spirit was there, and it's been there, and it's hosted a number of other kind of state events as well. Is that the story?
They'll occasionally run the state am through there every once in a while.
Yeah.
But this course and this place pretty much exists for the Spirit, and then all the philanthropic. It's not the arms of it. It's not the typical country club membership where it's let's just all go to our private retreat and backslap and everything like that. There is a lot of philanthropic aims at the heart of Whispering Pines. If you're a member there, then that's where some of your money goes to the to charitable causes and to the Spirit. Which reminds me, this tournament, Corby Robertson told me that the spirit really took off when they decided they would pay the way of everybody involved in the tournament. So if you're coming from Chinese Taipei or from Norway or from Spain or from any of these countries that are competing, no one pays a dime
Wow.
from the time they leave until the time they arrive on site, the time they get back home. And so you can imagine that's quite a an undertaking financially. And so, but that's how they constructed the whole operation. There, it's more than just a course. It really is an operation.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So if people want to watch this, I have a little bit of kind of coverage information. You've mentioned the TV coverage, and it's always kind of nice to know after hearing a little bit about the event and the golf course, ways you can tune in and watch this week. So as far as I can see, there's a live stream that will be going on during competition. Competition starts on Thursday, November 4th and runs to the 6th of November. That's Saturday. So you can live stream that on golfchannel.com, on the NBC Sports app, or the spiritgolf.com. So all three places, if you go there, you will be able to watch a live stream. And then they're also putting together a kind of package of highlights that will air in about a month on December 9th from 7 to 9 p.m. as well, which will kind of take everything and put it all in a nice package for people to watch and see the good that they're doing at Whispering Pines, and the hopefully the awesome golf that will be going on too. So some different ways to watch it, which I think is one of those things that I've noticed in the last 18 months, that just amateur golf is at the just at this point where it's kind of easier to consume. It's easier to watch. You can find it if you want to find it. So that's where people can find it. Do you have any other last thoughts on the Spirit, or what I should be looking forward to as I head down next week?
Well, I will say this. I would challenge you to weigh yourself before you get on property and weigh yourself after you leave property, because they are going to take care of you just like they take care of every athlete that's going to be there. Now, the athletes that are going to be there, they're going to probably be in their normal routines, but they're going to try to feed them really well. You're going to be entertained constantly the whole time you're there. Um, and it's an experience. It's not just a golf tournament. And I'll be very interested to hear about your impressions when you return. Hopefully the weather will be great. This is the best time of year to be in Texas. They could never have this tournament in the summer or winter for that matter. So um, I think it should be a great week all around.
Yeah, I have to be honest. This morning I peeked at the weather because it's been pouring rain here for the last 3 days in Boston, and it looks like it's going to be pretty good in mid 70s. And I'm I'm looking forward to it. Is there a signature? You mentioned the food. Is there like a signature food? You've got your milkshake at Muirfield. Is there something that they do or they take pride in, or is it just they're just going to take care of everybody?
Well, I don't,
Putting you on the spot.
I haven't been there enough to know what their signature food would be. Anyone that comes to Texas is going to be served barbecue in some form.
Yep.
Um, but I have a feeling they'll have anything you can think of.
Great. Well, I appreciate you hopping on in kind of short notice and talking with me. I'm excited to go down, and I hope folks are excited to watch. I don't know if people can go to the property. Maybe that's another piece that I'm not sure if people can go and watch
I
in
think with
person.
COVID, I think with COVID, I think they
Can't.
they limit that now. They may
Yeah,
limit that anyway. Like I said, it's extremely remote. I don't even know if they would have the parking.
to be able to
Or
handle
yeah.
anybody.
So really, you're going to need to get on the live stream and all the ways you can watch it on a screen.
Yeah, and make sure you go to amateurgolf.com. We'll be covering it all week. And Chris, thank you very much for your time and your knowledge. And we will talk to you later.
Enjoyed it, Sean. Have a great time down there.
Thanks. Take care.
Thanks a lot.